We've all been covering it for nearly 2 decades, but something important happened before the game. As you know, the collective bargaining agreement is under discussion right now between the league and their players. And before the game, the players came out without their warm-ups on with shirts that said, "Pay us what you owe us." There is a feeling among the players, as they expressed in their meeting on Thursday, that they want to have a piece of the revenue. It has been record-sharing revenue for the WNBA, and they have not been sharing that with the players.
They want more money. They want a larger piece of the revenue that is generated. Now,
Angel Reese didn't whisper. She didn't play it safe. She said it loud, clear, and without apology. Pay us what you owe us. It was more than a quote. It was a challenge.
We deserve more. Everybody.
I agree.
Everybody.
I agree with that.
But we got to get paid for consequences.
Y'all gotta do something.
But the women coming in, not this year, but next year.
Yeah.
The ones coming in this year will still be on the rookie contract again. Mm-hmm. The ones that the year after, they gonna get more. They probably gonna be making more than us.
Oh, they are.
I'm hurt.
They are. Like, yeah. I've been in the meetings. They are.
I need to get in the meetings.
You need to come to the meetings.
I gotta get in the meetings because I'm hearing like, yeah, they don't give us. If y'all don't give us what we want, like, we sitting out.
That's a possibility, for real.
Yeah. See, for women's sports.
Us getting paid our worth.
Period.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're doing exactly what LeBron is doing, so Angel Reese, what's going on?
Sis,
I don't
they
like
ain't got
that.
the money for us just yet, but it's coming. It's coming.
Is it?
It's like,
I don't understand
It's
it.
a lot. It's a lot that goes into it. But it's coming. Trust me, it's coming.
A shot across the bow of a league that's finally getting attention, but still not giving its players what they believe they deserve.
They are basically trying to take a larger piece of the revenue, not the profit, okay? So if you just go and do a little bit of research, it'll actually show you that last year in particular, the WNBA was estimated to lose around $40 million across the board. One of its largest losses ever.
Because at the center of this debate is a brutal contradiction. The WNBA is hotter than ever. Viral moments, sold-out arenas, endorsement deals pouring in. Players like Reese, Caitlin Clark, and Aja Wilson are leading a cultural movement.
These players are studying Paige, Kiki, and Sonia were sitting right next to each other and knowing, like, they show us the numbers from 26, 27. They don't show you 30 and 31. And my mom told me when I was younger, like, they'll show you the money here, but what about the longevity of it? The players that are coming after us, next year's players. So I think it's really important right now. Obviously, women's basketball is skyrocketing, and it's important for us to get what we want now, but not just now, but for the future as well. And it's really nice to have vets that may not be playing for 10 more years, but they are speaking for us because they know how important it is right now. It was an eye-opener for me, like hearing the things and hearing the language of things, and not things that I was happy to hear. It was disrespectful to things that we were sent back, the proposals that we were sent back, and knowing that, like, this is for the next generation. Like, it's important to be able to be vocal. If I sit back, it looks like I don't care. Like, and I know my voice and I know my platform. You love it or you hate it, I know it gets views. So I just know that I have to be a vocal. I have to sit at that table one day. But I right now, we have great leaders.
WNBA players feel like they deserve a bigger slice of the pie as they're currently in negotiations with their collective bargaining agreement. But in 2024 alone, they lost $50 million. This is also a league that, since their existence, have been subsidized by the NBA. And listen, I'm all for people trying to get their money, but you got to make it make sense. And so due to the recent success of the league, players feel like it's time for the WNBA to pony up and pay them what they feel like they deserve. And so let's go ahead and get into the content, where first we're going to hear from the WNBA players speaking on what they did and why they did it. Afterwards, we'll hear from those who agree with the WNBA players and feel like they deserve more, as well as those who don't agree so much. Take a look.
What do you mean by what you owe us?
The players are what is building this brand and this league. There is no league without the players, and the past, present, the ones coming out, they're the ones that have put in the blood, sweat, and tears for the new money that's coming in. And so we feel like we are owed a piece of that pie that we helped to create. So that's basically what that is.
The shirts, the comments you all made here, seeking the fan support, right? A rally behind you for the rest of the league. Those shirts are on sale. I expect we'll see them in your arenas when you guys come back from this. How much is making clear your priorities and having that fan support part of the plan here?
You know, it's extremely important, and I appreciate you asking that because, you know, it applies pressure. And even those chants tonight, the signs, I think it just shows that, you know, obviously as players we're united, but the fans are united in what they believe that we're seeking. And that's extremely important because that pressure can put, you know, a lot of good things on the table for us. You know, and I think, like I said earlier, like I'm just going to continue to harp on it, that awareness piece. Maybe someone that tuned in today that hasn't seen a WNBA game before or not super familiar with the climate of what's going on and where salaries are at. I know a lot of times, you know, we're gaining a ton of new fans and it's really important to educate them on what we're asking for, why we're asking for it, where it's at now, where it could be. And so I think it's really important that, you know, the fans showed up tonight for us in many ways, and it's exciting because I know that's going to continue to happen throughout the season.
As a woman that supports women's sports, this is very disappointing, to be honest to me. So why do women of the WNBA make far less than the men of the NBA? Let's break it down. And let me be very clear to start out. The women of the WNBA are not making less because of their talent or their skill set or their physicality. It is the business model and the business model alone. First up, the NBA pulls in over $10 billion a year. The WNBA, they pull in over $250 million a year. That alone is a huge gap in sponsorships, TV deals, viewerships, ticket sales, etc. Second, the length of their seasons. NBA, 82-game season. WNBA, 40-game season. That's literally half the opportunity to generate revenue, therefore half the opportunity to get paid.
I was really glad to see the women wear the pay us what you owe us, because one thing that the W is always going to do, and the players of the W, is stand on business. If you've only been watching for a couple years, just Google WNBA and like social justice and things like that, because they just have always been at the forefront, the women have, of the W. Anyways, I'll just use one example because I know if you have just no knowledge of the pay, a lot of people just compare it to the WNBA and they're just like, well, they don't make as much because they don't bring in as much. And they're not asking to be paid the same as the men. So there's that. They're asking to be paid their fair share like the men. So the men get 50% of revenue sharing, which is just the total amount of what the WNBA brings in. Well, the women, for that same statistic, bring in 9%. So whatever that number is, right? If we make $100 at the lemonade stand and I give my kid, $50 because he's a boy, and I give my daughter $9 because she's a girl, then the girl's like, well, why? I think that, okay, maybe in the girls' lemonade stand, we only made $50, but still give me 50% of whatever we made. You give the boys 50%, give me 50%. That's what they're saying when it comes to that one stat. So let's just start there and think about that part. And I was also just extremely impressed that all of the women participated in wearing the shirts, even the women who truly don't need the money per se from the W and just do it for the love of the game. And then you have some people who play in the W. Yes, they all love the game, but this is truly their primary income and they need it to be a legitimate living wage. So I was very impressed by that.
That's the clash playing out in real time. A new generation of stars believes their value isn't just about box scores. It's about brand power, visibility, influence. And they're no longer willing to accept being underpaid while the league, the networks, and the sponsors cash in on their rise. To them, this isn't just business. It's about dignity, equity, and rewriting the rules of women's sports. And whether the league is ready or not, that conversation is here. Loud, unapologetic, and led by a player who refuses to be anything but seen, heard, and paid. It's real news, backed by verified numbers and real-time data. The WNBA is experiencing a historic surge. Viewership has skyrocketed by over 200%, arenas are selling out, and star power from players like Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark is drawing national attention. But beneath the surface, the league is still operating at a financial loss, reportedly losing tens of millions each year. That's why Angel Reese's bold statement, "Pay us what you owe us," has sparked national debate. It's not just about salaries, it's about power, value, and whether the women who built this moment will finally be paid what they're worth. In this report, we dive into the facts, the economics, and the growing movement demanding a new financial model for the WNBA.
WNBA. Pay us what you owe us. After last night's game? Now let me backtrack, because I understand the purpose of pay us what you owe us, right? It does make sense. If the WNBA is saying that they made $50 million last year and there's only 144 players, they should be able to get $100,000, $200,000 per player, but they not. $50 million a year does not equate to $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 salaries. That doesn't make any sense. And if you don't have the funds to pay your players six figures, they're the only product you have. So if you don't have the money to pay those players six-figure salaries, then you need to go out of business. So I get that. But after watching last night's game, like you can't, I understand, but you just can't wear that and then perform like that. That game was terrible. It's all, bro, you know how hard it is to top being worse than the NBA All-Star game? That's already terrible. You know how hard it is to top that? You almost have to intentionally be worse. And what's even worse, to be honest, is that they were accidentally being worse. Like, they just, bro, the NBA, they just don't play any defense. They let people go by to get the crazy dunks. You know what I mean? It's all about a performance. It's a business, a show at this point. But the WNBA, they'll let people go by and there's not going to be a dunk. You know what I mean? They'll let people go by and the person who gets the blow by is missing a layup. Like, what are we talking about?
That disconnect is what makes Reese's statement so powerful. She's putting a spotlight not just on how hard WNBA players work, but on how much they're actually worth in a media-driven, brand-first economy. Because the game has changed. This is no longer just about performance on the court. It's about influence, audience, visibility. And in that economy, Angel Reese is a multi-million-dollar brand being paid like a public school teacher. And that's what makes this more than just a complaint. It's a call-out. Reese is essentially saying, don't cash in on our culture and then ask us to be quiet when it comes time to split the check. The league is selling empowerment. It's selling sisterhood. It's selling swagger. But if the women who provide that, day in and day out, aren't seeing a fair cut of the success, then what is it really selling? This conversation also reveals a deeper truth. The players understand economics better than they're being given credit for. Angel Reese isn't asking for $10 million contracts tomorrow. She's asking for a modern model, one that includes revenue sharing, performance bonuses, or future-based compensation structures. She's asking for what male athletes have always had, the right to grow with the league they build. The timing of Angel Reese's comments wasn't just emotional, it was tactical. The WNBA is approaching a massive financial turning point, its upcoming TV rights renegotiation. This isn't just a backroom media deal. This is the financial engine that could define the league's next decade. Right now, the WNBA is locked into a deal that pays them roughly $25 million per year, a figure that was considered fair back when interest in the league was lukewarm. But that's no longer the case. The explosion in visibility, led by names like Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and Aja Wilson, has changed everything. What was once a slow, niche product is now a ratings machine with real cultural impact and corporate demand. To put this in perspective, the NBA earns over $2.6 billion per year from its media rights. The NFL? Closer to $10 billion. So even if the WNBA's next deal lands on the lower end of projections, say $150, $200 million annually, that's still a 5x to 10x increase in revenue. It would flood the league with hundreds of millions in new money. Money that could reshape everything from team budgets to player salaries, facilities, marketing, and global expansion. This is the early stage of a player empowerment movement in the WNBA, and it's only gaining momentum. Players aren't just asking for scraps anymore. They want equity stakes, revenue-sharing guarantees, minimum salary floors, and a seat at the table during every major decision. They're looking to build something sustainable, not just for themselves, but for the future generation of women's basketball. So as the WNBA prepares to negotiate a deal that could finally transform its financial reality, the players are making one thing crystal clear: they see the money coming, and they're done watching it pass them by. But here's the billion-dollar question. Who actually benefits from that growth? Will it be the players? The ones who've built this moment with their talent, pain, personality, and unpaid overtime? Or will it be the owners, sponsors, and media companies who've only recently recognized the league's value after years of ignoring or underestimating it? That's what Angel Reese's "pay us what you owe us" statement really hits at. It's not just about money. It's about ownership of the moment. It's about who gets to claim the rewards after decades of underinvestment and struggle. Players like Reese are making it clear. This new era belongs to them. They are not just employees. They are the product, the attraction, the reason fans show up. And they want their compensation and their power to reflect that. You can already feel the shift. Behind the scenes, there are whispers of a coming labor showdown. Players are more organized. They're more educated about economics and collective bargaining. They're asking smarter questions. Why don't we have chartered flights yet? Why are salaries still capped below $250,000 when our jersey sales are through the roof? Why do NBA owners control the league's purse strings while the players generate all the revenue growth? Angel Reese isn't just a basketball player. She's a movement, a cultural force with millions of followers, a growing empire of brand deals, and the charisma to command attention every time she speaks. But what's most important is how she speaks. With clarity, purpose, and defiance. She doesn't carry herself like a rookie. She speaks like a future union leader, a disruptor, a young black woman fully aware of the machinery around her and determined to reshape it. Every time she says, "Pay us what you owe us," it's more than a soundbite. It's a direct challenge to decades of inequality in professional sports and beyond. Because this story, it's never been just about basketball. It's about labor, visibility, and power. It's about what happens when black women, often the cultural engine of American sports and entertainment, stop accepting applause in place of compensation. For decades, black women have carried leagues, driven trends, sold jerseys, and built dynasties, all while being underpaid, over-scrutinized, and systemically sidelined. Angel Reese is standing in that legacy and refusing to be quiet about it. And that terrifies the establishment. Because once players realize they can move the needle independently, they can also demand a greater share of the pie. They can insist on revenue splits, on equity, on voting rights within league governance. That's what makes Angel Reese so much more than a trending topic. She's the front line of a larger movement that blends sports, labor rights, racial equity, and modern economics. In essence, she's telling the system, you no longer get to profit off my presence while limiting my power. And that idea is contagious. Because when one player stands up and says, "Pay us what you owe us," she gives every other player permission to demand the same. That shift in power, from league offices and corporate boardrooms to the very women on the court, is exactly why this moment matters. The WNBA is no longer a quiet, overlooked side note in the sports world. It's standing at the edge of a full-scale transformation. But let's be clear, that transformation means nothing unless the players, the ones who sweat, sacrifice, and sell out arenas, are the ones who benefit from it. So when Angel Reese says, "Pay us what you owe us," she's not just asking for a raise. She's not begging for scraps from a growing pie. She's demanding something much bigger, a new system built on fairness, respect, and truth. A new standard where women in sports aren't forced to prove their worth twice as hard for half as much. A new deal, not just for herself, but for every future girl who dreams of making it in this game without sacrificing her voice, her value, or her dignity. Because in the end, this fight isn't just about money, it's about ownership, it's about equity, and it's about sending a message that in this new era, value won't just be measured in dollars, it'll be measured in dignity.